Welcome everyone to the Small Time Movie Podcast. I am Sean, and as always, here with both Randy and Stelios, here to talk about movies. And this week we're talking about Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. As someone who hasn't seen the movie, I'm going to pass it on to Randy and Stelios to give their thoughts, and I'll chime in with questions and concerns.
Oh God.
Oh
Oh
man.
God, where do we even begin? Where do we start? Um, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is based off the publisher Capcom, publisher? Game maker Capcom's video games that have been around since like late 90s? Mid 90s?
98.
98.
Takes
98.
place in 98 when the first
Movie takes place in
takes
98. It's basically a retelling of the first two games as a movie, and it fails on so many levels. However, um, I'll give a little, very quick, brief synopsis. So basically, story takes place in Raccoon City. The city is home to one of the largest pharmaceutical companies called Umbrella. Umbrella has left the city kind of to die, literally and metaphorically. And in the city, we're introduced to our principal characters. It's Claire Redfield and Chris Redfield. These are brother and sister. They were orphaned, and there was some shady shit going on in the orphanage. And then they grow up, they're distant, and Claire comes back to Raccoon City, and some shit goes down. It's pretty much the most easy way to explain the movie.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's zombies. So there's the viral infection from anyone.
There were zombies in this movie?
About Resident Evil.
Yes.
I thought they were
And
just
there's
evil
some
residents.
Some other potential creatures and monsters based off of scientific experimentation. They're called bioweapons. So the original title of Resident Evil in Japan is Biohazard, but I think there's another game with that title in North America, so they went with Resident Evil. I like the title Resident Evil. I think it's pretty cool. It's not as much on the nose.
I always thought
Raccoon
like
City-
Resident Evil was a good title for just like people yelling on lawns. Like, get off my lawn, Resident Evil. It's like, don't play hopscotch in the middle of the park, Resident Evil. That's how and they didn't have a voice that like when Resident Evil came into the frame, like because it was all in red.
No,
text.
they didn't do it like the video.
They should have
but
done the
they gave
voice.
The original titles. They did the original titling, which was nice. It didn't say
Yes.
"Welcome to Raccoon City." Okay, so okay, there's a synopsis. I mean, we could probably give a better one about it. I don't want to. I think that's good enough because if you're going to watch this movie, you already know what you're getting into.
Or maybe not.
So
Because you know what? This movie it's got spunk. It's got some spirit. It is not the worst movie it could have been. But
I will forgive it
I will
because
forgive it.
the previous Resident Evil movies, which this has no connection to, the previous ones by Wes Anderson, I believe, or
Yeah.
what's his name?
Yeah,
They're awful.
Paul
They have nothing to do
Paul
with the video game.
Mila
Smith
Jovovich.
or something?
Yeah.
Or maybe that's who it is. Yeah, not Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson's apparently someone else. Paul, I don't know, some dude who I should look it up. Forgive me. But those other Resident Evil movies are awful. I remember watching the original in theaters and thinking, this is not what I originally thought it was going to be. And it just kind of went on from there. That being said, this movie tries to get things a little more to the core of the video games, as by the synopsis that Stelios gave. So I forgive it to some extent because of that. I just wanted to put that disclaimer in there before I start beating the shit out of this thing.
Sean, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Resident Evil? You ever play the games? You know anything about them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge zombie fan in general with movies. So I played, I think, Resident Evil 2 on the N64, and then I played like 3 and whatever else on like PlayStations and Xboxes. But recently I played, there's a remaster of Part 1, and there's like a redo, like a remake of Part 2. So I've played both
Right.
those.
Okay.
So I have a clear understanding of the
Okay,
story and like Chris Redfield and Leon and Jill and Albert Wesker and all those people. I know the general story statement. And it's interesting to have a movie that we're gonna go, I think, really hard in the video game story and really do that. Kind of like it looks like the new Uncharted film seems to be like let's do what's already been done, but not interactive. So I'm really curious to know from you guys if you have experience with the games. Is it a detriment to try to replicate those key scenes? Is it fun? Is that like a drawing point? Like, what compelled you to see this film?
I
Because
will
from my
say,
point of view, the trailers looked okay,
God, I
and
have
as a
so
horror
much to
fan, I like
say.
to watch horror at home. So seeing it in theaters, I'm like, well, I'll just I'll save it for home. But I'm really curious on you guys' experience and if it worked.
it did not work. But that being said, they tried. I think the issue, I'm pretty sure, from a directing standpoint, from my camera there, I'm a director, not really. If they just did Resident Evil 1 or 2 as its own film, as a standalone film, not trying to mesh two things together and rush it within an hour and a half, this would have been a lot better. When they try to replicate scenes from the video games, iconic scenes, they do it pretty damn well. I know they had a limited budget, so went into this forgiving the CGI. That being said, as a fan of the storytelling in the first and the second game, minus some dialogue here and there, but the way the story unfolds in those games, they fail to reproduce that. Now, as a Resident Evil fan, I don't mind going into a shot-for-shot, story beat for story beat video game to movie direct adaptation. I actually would have preferred that. But when the video games have better acting, two especially, better cinematography, and just an overall better experience.
You were almost a Jill sandwich. No.
Yeah.
No. I have a giant Resident Evil 2 Leon S. Kennedy statue.
do?
We did the unboxing together
We
on
did
Radio
unboxing for
Reviews. Listen, Linda. This movie deserves to be burned at the stake and held up to a higher standard compared to other video game adaptations.
Yeah,
Only because they actually did try to make a good movie. I swear to God, I swear on all that is holy, that somebody in the cast and the director's chair or somebody gave a crap. Because
someone did.
Even somebody totally did, because there was love and care into those sets, man. Maybe
yes,
not
until
until nothing makes sense. Like, it's a weird
yeah.
movie. It is a weird movie because there was no way in hell they're like, we're not going to make our money back. But it looks like they're not making their money back out of a budget of $25 million. They're at what, 14 currently?
I don't know.
Well,
That's what Wikipedia says.
that brings up a question for me: is this film, you feel, for people who played the game and want to see those things brought onto the big screen? Does it work as well?
No.
Probably hard to say, because if you didn't see those films.
If you hadn't played the video games, this movie is for you. But if you have played the video games, this movie is not for you.
It's an interesting
They
take
take
for
liberties.
zombies. Yeah.
They take
Lots of
liberties where they shouldn't. Like Lisa Trevor is a waste of so she has way more time in this movie than she needs. The backstory with the orphanage. So Jill and Chris, to give some context, are orphans as kids. William Birkin is experimenting with kids in the orphanage. Spoiler territory. Just spoilers again.
Wow.
And Lisa Trevor lives underground, who's trying to befriend Claire at night when no one's watching. This plays into the storyline later. Chris is close with William Birkin. He says that William was like a father to him. They butcher the characterizations of Chris, who's my favorite. He makes really stupid choices. Also, he gets out of the weirdest scenarios. He's basically swarmed with zombies. We cut to someone else. We cut back to him, and he's perfectly fine. Whereas anyone else in that scenario just seems to die. Leon is bastardized. He's a rookie cop, but his characterization is that he's a fuck up. He fucks up all the time, left, right, and center, and he only has a redeeming quality at the very end, which isn't even redeeming. His characterization is just completely butchered. Claire is fine. And
Definitely the best part of the movie was Claire.
Well, she's the lead, so. And then Jill is
weird.
She's just thrown in there for fan service. She's really not doing much in the film.
If this movie had the same characters but wasn't Resident Evil, if it was like a mix between zombies and Cabin in the Woods, I think it could have worked.
Yeah, but it's Resident Evil, so
So it doesn't.
they didn't look
yeah.
at the source material, which is clearly really good in the remakes, I should say.
Yeah.
Lisa Trevor, for instance, is not a boss fight in this. She is an assistant. She helps them,
And then they leave her to die.
and they just leave her to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They don't
so-
even acknowledge that she was a victim. Which actually, wait, no, they did acknowledge she was.
They
a
do
victim
acknowledge it in this.
because they have a book of scraps. Whatever. Listen, this is all spoiler territories. All you need to know is they bastardize the characters that people really either enjoy playing as or love. And
I really love Resident Evil, and I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Fucking.
It's a weird thing because like I'm watching this movie, like I like the fact that they're using old technology, right? Because it takes place in 1998. They're using the music and like the tone and the feel is in the right spot, but the heart
No,
and the soul
the tone
of the
is
movie's
wrong.
wrong.
The
Why
tone
is
is
the tone
wrong.
wrong?
The tone is wrong because it's too comedic. There's literally
Not
a part
really.
where the truck driver dies. He's on fire. Leon is sleeping at the front desk of Raccoon City Police Department, listening to music, and the song he's listening to is Crush. I can't remember who it's by, but it's from the 90s, and I know that song. And basically, the truck driver zombie just walks in completely ablaze while the song goes blasting. And then he gets shot in the head right before he gets to Leon by Chief Irons, and the song cuts. It's completely comedic, and that is not a Resident Evil thing. It just doesn't work for Resident Evil 1 and 2. There are quite a few instances where they try to go for comedy. It's bullshit, man. It's not totally correct.
When I say tone, I don't mean
You're wrong.
necessarily how they use it. It's like just like the vibe of the film and the coloring and like the actual setting and how they.
That's not
do-
tone, that's atmosphere.
Okay,
that's
sorry,
cinematography.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the
There's-
shots. So it's
There's
definitely
tonal shifts in the movie, which I agree with you. Yes, there's comedic things that don't work, or like things that are extremely unintentionally funny, because I always chuckle at those.
Oh yeah, we
Um,
laugh at things that are bad. That's a whole different
Yeah,
category.
like this is a weird because like you know what zombie movie this reminded me of, but like just a lower class version. Which one is it? The car chase out. George A. Romero's not Land of the Dead. Is it the first one?
Car chase. You mean like well, there's Survival of the Dead, which takes place on an island.
Which one is the one in the mall?
Diary is like the found footage one.
Not the old one.
Dawn.
Dawn.
Dawn of
Thank
the
you.
Dead.
Dawn
That's
of the
by
Dead.
Zack
Dawn of the
Snyder.
So this is like a poor man's version of Dawn of the Dead with a licensing of a video game because
Just
they're like,
caught
"Ah,
my
fuck it, we
mic."
had it." Why'd you drop your mic?
I knocked the thing,
I dropped something too, actually.
but I caught it.
So, because the games are so like there's so much narrative in the game, like a lot of cutscenes and like driven by narrative. Does this film tie itself to that narrative strongly? Does it deviate? Like I know tone and characters are you saying are off, but from a story perspective, does it stick close to the source material?
It does, and it doesn't, and it does. It's almost
It's an accurate answer.
It does and it doesn't because when it's using the stuff from the games, it's putting a twist on it or doing something a little bit different. But then it's like that's to the movie's detriment because they're combining two games into one full movie here. It's like making a two-part like Lord of the Rings and then Two Towers into one movie. There's so much you would have to change. There's so much you would have to cut to make it like a runtime.
Like Mr. X doesn't exist in this film.
Yeah, there's no tyrant.
Okay.
There's no this. There's no that. Like
There's no
people
tyrants.
that know the games are going to be
There's one
super
liquor.
confused.
One liquor who gets basically wiped by Lisa Trevor. She breaks its neck with her shackled arms. She like puts the shackles around its neck and just snaps its head. But Lisa Trevor is super powered. I get that, but still.
This movie needed to be one movie, and I think they should have just gone straight to Resident Evil 2. I
think
know you're
doing
thinking
that-
it should have gone to 1.
I like one. I like one a lot. I think what they should have done is either 2 and then 1 or 1 and then 2. But either way, I think both stories need to be told because eventually you're going to want to introduce Chris and Claire. And Jill for 3 if you're going to do Nemesis.
Yeah, but they can't do
I like the
Nemesis.
Wesker storyline in 1, which gets completely butchered in this. So Wesker in this is not like a double agent of some sort. He gets basically offered some money to steal the G virus and return it to an unknown contact, who's revealed in the post credits to be Ada Wong. And
Pointless, completely pointless.
everyone felt like a cosplay double of themselves in this movie.
That's what
No
I was
one
reading
felt
online
authentic.
before seeing it. Yeah.
And I have a good buddy who worked. Hopefully he doesn't get into shit for this. I know someone who worked on the film. That's it. I won't disclose who. Yeah, I found out today that they worked on the film.
Interesting.
I can't wait for your friend to tell you what they thought of this movie tonight.
Yeah, he's watching it tonight, and I messaged him. He's like, "Well, how'd it go?" And I was like, "Man, it was fucking awful." He's
So, is there sequel setup? Like,
Too
are we
much.
looking at
Too much sequel
right.
setup.
Too-
Oh
okay.
god. They were showing characters in like film reels and stuff like they were taking things directly from the games, which
Yeah.
is fine, to sequel bait, which it's like you didn't earn that, dude.
Mhm.
You didn't explain it enough. There's like
the Ashford twins.
yeah, too much. I'm not gonna name it
It's
here
called
because a lot of
Veronica.
people probably won't go
Yeah.
watch this shit. Like it's such a weird movie to talk about because I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, like I can like, will I ever go watch it again in the movie? Fuck no, I would never pay money to watch this again. But like if it was on TV, I'd be like, yeah, I'll watch it. It was too long. It didn't get to the point quick enough.
No, it felt like forever.
Yeah, the pacing was way too slow. Like even when things are exciting, and like we have a tanker being crashed, right? Which is one of the opening scenes in 2. So that's a big deal, right? That kind of starts off the whole like, oh my god, everyone's a zombie in this city, and like where are we gonna go and what's gonna happen? And Leon was supposed to be there on his first day and run into the police station. Okay, things kind of got changed up, but it's like you said, yeah, they played that off comedically. But it's like this should have been exciting, or I should have been scared or suspenseful or whatever. And there's some good moments, like Claire's inside this house, and there's this creepy lady that lives across the street, and you can tell she's starting to become infected with some sort of
That was
illness,
cool.
virus.
I liked that scene.
I like that, but I also don't like the fact that she was writing out itchy and tasty
Itchy tasty. Yeah.
on Chris's house
door.
window, and Claire's like, "Excuse me, do you need help?" Like,
Yeah, she's
bitch,
writing in blood.
She's writing it in blood. What the fuck are you? Hello, can I help you? Like, are you retarded? Like,
Yeah, like a normal person would be like, "Get the fuck away." Even if the
Yeah.
person wasn't writing shit, you'd be like, "Hey, get the fuck away from my house."
5. It's like, what was it? Like 1 a.m. Like,
Yeah,
and the movie
it's-
constantly cuts to the time.
It's,
Oh,
just- it's because there's a
silliness.
countdown. There's
Silliness.
6 a.m. self-destruct.
yeah. Tell us the countdown right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, open the movie, say we have to blow up Raccoon City.
Yo, the best scene is, and I'm not trying to promote violence against women, not at all. It's just the way it was shot and cut together. I couldn't help but laugh at how stupid it was when Birkin's wife dies in this movie.
Oh,
William Birkin holds a gun. He's like has his gun. He points it at correction. Albert Wesker's pointing a gun at William Birkin. William Birkin's back is to Albert Wesker, and there's a gun on his desk next to the virus. What does Birkin do? He grabs his gun, turns around. Of course, Wesker is a highly trained operative. He fucking just shoots Birkin in the chest like 3 times. Pop, 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 right? And he falls. And then he hands the gun to his wife while he's dying on the ground. And of course, you just saw what Albert Wesker did to Birkin, her husband. Just shot him 3 times in the chest. And yeah, Birkin shot Wesker once in the arm, in the shoulder. But she gets the nerve within like 10 seconds to decide to pull the gun up to point it at Wesker, who then, with his injured arm, in one shot, drops her right in the forehead. She's gone. Within
and
like
this
10
little
seconds.
girl became an orphan.
And
he's
she
like,
just-
I wouldn't shoot the kid. I'm like,
Yeah.
you shot her parent. You just made a
yeah,
Batman.
yeah,
You
exactly.
made a Batman. Like,
But the
oh.
way the tone shifted with her mom, like there was no intensity for it. It went from like he's like, "Here, honey, have the gun," while he's dying. She goes, "Okay," bang, and just dead. That's it. That's all she did.
This
it was
movie
unfortunate.
took too much from the games instead of making. Listen, you can say what you want about the Jovovich films and the Paul W. S. Anderson, whatever the hell his name is, but like at least they were consistent
up.
with their story. They were consistent with their story. They went with the whole Alice is superpowered and she's a clone and whatever, but they stuck with it. It was consistent. Where this movie feels like, okay, we have like 10 different ideas here. How many ideas can we put all together? Oh, wait, we got to have the mansion and we got to have the police station, but we're going to underutilize all these sets that are painstakingly brought to life and beautiful.
It's Paul W.S. Anderson, just to clear that.
I got it right. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So you're saying that a movie that takes the franchise in a different direction, but does it in a way that's sort of like tied together and like makes use of its setting and story and everything, works better than what we're getting with this remake, which seems to be like a mishmash of two games and sort of set pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really didn't need to be that. It could have been a slow, a little bit more drawn out spooky mansion cabin thing horror. They could have done the Resident Evil 1 thing, or they could have done a little bit more of the action-y 2, where the rookie cop is his first day, he gets into the town, and shit is south.
Well, they'd follow both characters, but...
It does, but it does it to the wrong
I'm saying
outcome.
if they did two, it'd be both. I think following the two characters separately gives something to cut away to, which they do in this. They do it with their teams. Problem is, it's divvied up too incorrectly. It should be Chris and Jill or Claire and Leon, and that's
yes, yeah, and that you could have had your two principal protagonists, and you could have kept them together. Maybe not even cut back and forth. Like I listen. I don't know. How would I make a Resident Evil movie is completely different. I just go straight to 4. Take the idea. Leon is a highly trained operative. He's rescuing the president's daughter. 2.5 hours. Make it about him rescuing her. You do the village, the castle, and done.
4 works because it's coming off of the laurels of 1, 2, and 3. Specifically coming off of, I guess, 2 and 3. And that's because Resident Evil, when they enter the mansion, it says enter the survival horror. And 4 doesn't feel like survival horror. 4
No, it's completely
almost
different.
But that's what helps it. So I think a natural evolution is to go there, with 6 being maybe a little too far of an evolution. And 1, 2, and 3, I think 3 being a little more action packed. Speaking of which, I'm gonna get the remake. I should probably buy it tonight. It's on sale. I think one more day, so $24. I think
more.
Resident Evil 3. And I think that'll be, upping the ante. Because that first Tyrant fight at the end of 1 versus upping it to Mr. X, a more highly capable Tyrant stalking you, and then finally Nemesis, just completely onslaught, out of your mind, like Terminator style, is just a fun evolution of those characters on top of the mystery and the solve. You don't have to do the puzzles. What you do have to do is uncover a story, a mystery over time throughout the narrative, and up the ante a little bit. Like the liquor was upping it just only a little bit. We didn't have any hunters. There were no G, like what do they call them? The guys in the sewers. The G.
Just G.
Yeah, that's it.
Just
or
G.
Hunter Gammas that are in 3.
They needed to take what they have and make it into 2 separate movies, a part 1, part 2. Right? First the mansion, then the town, whatever. They kind of did that with the original Mila Jovovich one. Again, like it took its own liberties. It was a consistent story. This movie is all over the place, but there's something about it I just kind of enjoyed. It was like schlocky horror to a degree. There were some cool scenes. There was some effort. There was some love put into this.
Yes, minimally.
Minimal.
Whatever they could have afforded. From the get-go, the writer-director decided to take liberties with the story, thinking he could do better than what was already done, is a big, big no-no. Unless you can do it better, don't. One of the best things about 300 by Zack Snyder, which is not a great film.
Yeah.
But it's not very much different from the comic, where you could say the comic's infinitely better.
Zack Snyder has that talent, though. He takes images and makes, like, he shows you, because this guy doesn't do the same thing. He takes what you see in the game, like the perspective and the camera space, and the way the camera was framed was actually sometimes like that third-person view
I'm talking about story, not the visuals. The visuals.
I
didn't
no,
have
I
any
understand.
issues with the visuals outside of some CGI, but that's a budget concern.
That's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm saying, Zach has a way of taking that concept,
Frame.
like the panel, the frame, I guess you want. Yeah, okay, frame, and making the frame of the comic into the frame of the film you're watching. Whereas this
Helps
guy,
a
I don't
lot
know
when
what.
Frank Miller draws it for you.
Yeah, for sure, right? Zach can make gods into moving images, right? Like Aquaman and Zack Snyder and Justice League. Where this is like, I want to make a movie game. It's like, no, you don't. Did you watch what you watched? Like, did you watch it?
No, they didn't.
Because like, I would have cut out like 45 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, they wasted time on the orphanage.
It's got to be hard because it could be like his decision, or is it Capcom's decision? Like, who has final say?
I don't know.
And what this movie comes out as.
Yeah, we can't really tell. But Capcom had a really good story. I mean, don't fix it if it ain't broke.
And they still have one because Resident Evil still hasn't been adapted in a way that would really suffice.
No.
There's a great movie license here, man. They already made 6 movies with Jovovich. They know they can make money off it.
Spider-Man did it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'll direct it.
3 times.
Resident Evil, I'll do it. I'll start from 1. And then we'll
Residents of
fuck it,
Evil.
let's go
Get
straight
off
into
my
2.
lawn.
I like that Stelio said let's go right into 2. I'm not opposed to that because I think 1 would be a really good almost prequel to it. I would skip Resident Evil 0 and just go straight into this. I think there's a really fun story to be told. They didn't tell the right one. So that's it for discussion. Spoilers. We're running out of time here. Rating. Our ratings are, we changed it up a little bit. Good, so good it's bad, bad good, and bad bad. Stelios, what did you think of Resident Evil? Welcome to Raccoon City.
It's bad. It's just bad, but it's bad. Welcome to Raccoon City. Bad.
I'm gonna agree it's bad. I do not recommend this film. Sean, without seeing the film, what would you recommend, or what would you rate episode 3 of Hawkeye, which you told me you watched earlier today?
Oh, that's good.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I'll check that out
that's good. That's check it out. That's solid.
Nice. All right. Do you want to do a send off, or I don't know how you want to end this? I'm so disappointed with this.
This is our weirdest podcast to date.
Yeah, well, my camera basically died or something like that, so
that's fine.
You're gonna get a lot of audio from me, and that's it.
That's fine. I do video from this.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, pretty. So yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. Randy and Stelios talk about Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen to their ratings, and I guess see it if you want.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it. Yeah, just wait for it to come on TV.
Go play Resident Evil 1 on GameCube and Resident Evil 2.
Turn on Sci-Fi Channel.
Platforms in 2018.
Middle of the night, you'll see whatever zombie movie. Ghost of Mars. Go watch Ghost of Mars. That's a great movie.
That.
It's terrible too. Go watch Ghost of Mars.
That's bad as well.
Oh my god.